Have you ever, had a specific aroma? Maybe the rich, nutty scent of melting butter just instantly transport you back to a really vivid memory. It hits you before you even realize what you're smelling.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our olfactory senses are wired directly to the emotional and memory centers of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So a single scent, it just completely bypasses logic entirely and drops you right into a specific moment in time.
Right. Well, welcome to today's deep dive, where we are actually putting that exact sensory experience under the microscope. We have a stack of lyric sheets and musical analysis notes for a remarkably evocative track by Mary. It's called Memories Smell Like Butter.
Which is such a great title.
It really is. And our mission today is to decode how an artist uses, sophisticated musical arrangements to turn a literal recipe into this profound emotional revelation.
Yeah, because usually a track focused entirely on food risks, sounding like a novelty gimmick, right? Like a silly commercial jingle.
Mm-hmm, exactly. But this piece treats the everyday act of cooking as a really complex emotional language. So to understand how this song triggers that sense of memory for you, the listener, we first have to look at the literal recipe it gives us.
Right.
The track meticulously describes cooking salmon meunière. It walks you through wiping away the moisture from the fish, dusting it with flour, melting the butter in the pan, and then that distinct scent of rosemary rising up as the salmon skin slowly crisps to the perfect texture.
And, beneath that literal recipe is this fascinating psychological layer.
Mm-hmm.
The narrator is observing this cooking process and reflecting on a shift in their own perspective.
How so?
The lyrics explicitly move from past jealousy, quote, "I was just jealous back then," to present understanding. They realized this food tasted so incredible, not just because of culinary skill, but because of the sheer amount of time, effort, and really love poured into the preparation.
Oh, wow. So the literal slow cooking of the salmon beautifully mirrors the narrator's slow burning realization of that love.
Right.
They couldn't see it back then, but now the memory itself serves as the accent flavor to the dish.
Yeah, the physical time it takes to crisp that skin perfectly, it becomes a living metaphor for patience and devotion.
That is beautiful. But I mean, lyrics alone can't physically put you in that kitchen. The instrumentation has to do the heavy lifting there.
For sure.
How do you musically score an intimate domestic scene like this without making it sound like generic background music for a cooking oil commercial?
Well, you utilize unexpected high-end retro genres. The musical analysis actually defines this track as cooking pop.
Cooking pop. Okay, that's a new one.
Right. It's heavily rooted in city pop, which is that 1980s Japanese style blending jazz, R&B, and funk alongside premium yacht rock.
Okay, wait. Let me push back on the yacht rock comparison for a second.
Sure.
When I think of yacht rock, those smooth late 70s West Coast hits, I think of something overly mature. It evokes sipping a cocktail on a boat in sunglasses. That slick, highly polished sound feels completely disconnected from the messy, cozy warmth of a home kitchen.
I completely get that. But if you look closely at the instrumentation, the groove actually bridges that gap. It all comes down to the rhythm section. The track uses a light shuffle beat and a syncopated dance line.
Syncopated, meaning placing notes slightly off the main beat. Right.
Exactly. So instead of a rigid robotic pulse, those slightly unpredictable accents physically mimic the rhythmic sounds of a kitchen.
Oh, like the organic, irregular chop of a knife on a cutting board?
Yes. Or light footwork moving between the sink and the stove.
So the rhythm section is essentially playing the role of the chef. That makes sense. But what about that overly polished, slick feeling I mentioned? How does the track avoid feeling sterile?
Rather than relying on an explosive, dramatic wall of sound like a standard pop chorus, the producers utilize blank space or margins. They leave literal room between the notes. Yeah, so the warm electric pianos and sparkling scents are present, but because they aren't crowded by 100 other instruments, they create this dry, crisp acoustic environment. It feels like a clean, well-organized kitchen where you can clearly hear every individual sizzle and pop.
And I'd imagine that structural choice leaves a lot of room for the vocal performance. Mary's soft, warm vocal style seems to act as the ultimate neutralizing element.
It really does.
She takes those highly sophisticated, breezy chord progressions and anchors them in everyday domestic warmth, sort of softening that mature slickness into genuine comfort.
It reminds us that our most profound memories are often anchored in our most ordinary routines. The high-end production elevates the mundane act of pan-frying fish into something almost sacred.
This track brilliantly marries the meticulous, precise groove of yacht rock with highly sensory, nostalgic lyrics. It proves that the everyday act of preparing food is actually deeply emotional.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. The next time you are cooking a meal for someone you care about, pay attention to the rhythm of your chopping and the aromas filling your kitchen. What kind of invisible soundtrack are you creating for their future memories?
Because one day, long after the meal is gone, all it might take is the smell of melting butter to bring it all back.
焦り散らす